Hello and happy Saturday. We all made it through another week, and it is a Saturday. The weather's beautiful, depending on where you're at. We're so excited today to introduce a lovely, lovely, lovely lady. It's a little soon to say doctor, but she's our doctor. Um, and we're going to do some answering of questions today. I know you're wondering, can I really ask that question? And we know not being able to ask a question in regards to your health is an interruption, and we're all about being uninterrupted. So we're going to get uninterrupted today. Apparently, I have marbles in my mouth, but you need to come with those questions, all the ones that you are embarrassed or think you shouldn't ask. Today, we want you to meet Jennifer Tang. She just completed her doctorate in neuropathic medicine, license pending, here in Ontario. Prior to this, she received an Honours Bachelor of Science degree with a specialization in biological science at McMaster University. Woohoo! Jennifer has an immense passion, pardon me, to work in women's health and integrative cancer care. Amazing. She's leading the way in empowering women of all ages along the way. Her drive and ambition sparked at a young age when she had to prioritize her own health concerns, which were not addressed until she discovered neuropathic medicine. It is her mission to work with women all over and to delve into a lifestyle and mindset that they can fall in love with. And we agree that you could definitely do that because Jennifer is an amazing person and you will definitely fall in love with her. During this masterclass, you get to ask Jennifer any question you want, some of which have gone unanswered for a long time. We want to encourage you to please feel free to ask questions in the chat. And if you're watching in the replay, please type replay in the comments. So we have one last question to ask of you. After this, please share the masterclass with your family and friends. And with no more time to go, we've got Jennifer coming up.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for that intro, Wendy. I'm so glad to be here, and I'm really excited to talk to you all and answer any of the questions that you may have.
Perfect. So we have questions. So we've been posting this. People know that this was going to happen. So we do have some questions already that people sent ahead of time. So Hazel and I are going to go ahead and ask you some of those.
Sounds good.
Hazel, you want to go first?
Sure. So the first question is, how do I know if I have a hormone imbalance?
Yeah, that's a really good question. There's the main one that people talk about is estrogen dominance. So for example, breast tenderness, it could be change in mood, it could be like heavier bleeding, painful bleeding. That could be a more estrogen dominance picture. However, it's really important to think about progesterone as well and its role in our bodies as well, because just because you have an estrogen dominant picture, that could mean that your estrogen levels are normal though, and you just don't have enough progesterone. So it could be like a lack of progesterone or too much estrogen. So we have to identify what the difference is between that, and you can check that through the blood as well. There's a test that tests these hormones through your urine, but we usually do blood work to test those things. But yeah, so it's a really important point. I don't think we talk enough about progesterone, not having enough progesterone in our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
I think estrogen is what we talk about a lot. But yeah, we have to consider both. It could even be certain conditions like polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS, where there's other hormones that are increased. So what we think of like the male hormones, we have in our bodies too, like testosterone, DHEA. So that could be another hormonal imbalance too if you have too much of those things in your body. And some women with PCOS will experience like hair growth, for example, upper lip. And for example, I have upper lip hair too that I pluck off, but and I think a lot of people do. So it's not abnormal to have like a little bit, but once it gets, change in darkness of it, or it's a lot that you notice, then it could be a sign of something as well that could be related to PCOS. Acne is associated with that too. So there's so many different signs of hormone imbalance. We just need to do the proper testing for you to see what it is, because it's hard to just Google things and try to look towards Dr. Google.
And then not only not to do that, but Dr. Google can get pretty scary, right? Because
Definitely.
how many of us we are on Google and it's like, oh my God, I have some rare disease that, right?
Exactly.
I have a question, Jennifer.
Yeah.
So women with, I guess it's like who experience the facial hair and more male hormones, is there a correlation between having infertility issues?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So for example, PCOS, since we were just talking about that, when you would have the increase in like the male hormones, fertility can be affected. Although a lot of naturopathic doctors will see PCOS women and help them through pregnancy. Like that's like a really big thing. A lot of women don't even know they have PCOS until maybe they want to conceive, or their periods are kind of messed up, like the cycle is not as it used to be. So those are the signs, and fertility could be a challenge in women who have these hormonal imbalances in various conditions. But it just takes it's hard to do that initial step of getting people on your team, like healthcare providers and stuff. But it's so beneficial to have a group of healthcare professionals who have expertise in different areas and can work towards helping you.
Love that. Okay, we're gonna hop on to the next question. What are the benefits of having a naturopathic doctor as a part of your healthcare team?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So a lot of people don't know this, but their naturopathic doctors are able to spend more time with patients. So usually our initial intakes could be up to 2 hours. Some people do. And follow-ups could be like an hour, 45 minutes. So it's not your typical 5-minute doctor appointment that you may have, because we take that time to really get to know your whole body, look at it at a whole body and holistic approach. And to do that, we need to get to know you, right? So the benefits of being in private healthcare is that we get to spend more time with you, and we get to connect the dots, because I think almost every person I've seen in clinic, they've always said, wow, I didn't know all these things were connected, or how these things are connected. I didn't even know this issue I had related to this issue. And it's unfortunate how we have to keep our concerns to be just one concern per visit, which I understand, because we have public healthcare, it's free healthcare, so there's a lot of demand. But there's issues with that as well, because then if you have multiple issues that are related to each other, how would they know that if you can only tell them one thing at a time? So getting also to the root cause of disease is one of our principles in naturopathic medicine. Getting to the root cause would mean not just treating symptoms, but treating what is the ultimate driver to this condition you may have, and not just putting a Band-Aid over that.
Awesome. Wow. And I just, at this point in time, I just want to ask, you guys are not covered under OHIP currently, right?
Yeah, we're not covered under OHIP, but if you have health insurance, it's most likely covered. I've never had an issue with coverage in terms of
Awesome.
insurance.
And it's a well worth, because I'm also Jennifer's patient. So it's a well, it's an investment that you should make for yourself, and also look at yourself as having a healthcare team, not just like, I have a doctor, I have a naturopath, I have a physiotherapist, I have a chiropractor. You need to look at your whole, like, you have a whole team who's building this body. Right. And yeah, you learn so much. But Jennifer and I will take you through that journey later.
So excited for that.
Yes. Okay, so here's another question that our community asked. What are the things I can do to decrease my blood sugar levels and control my diabetes?
That's a really good question. So definitely what you eat. So I've had some during my time seeing like doing clinical work, I've seen a lot of patients who really have a sweet tooth. And then it's the initial step is always the hardest, where you're trying to limit the amount of like sugary or sweet things that you would normally eat. But then once you introduce things like, oh, I'll have a fruit instead of this candy, or I'll have this like this apple instead of this dessert. And once they start substituting things like that, after a while, they'll say, oh, I don't even crave that anymore. Like when I crave sweet, I'll have this orange instead, and I feel good. So it takes training, I think, in your body to kind of get used to it. And it's not like completely cutting off all things that are yummy and sweet, because we all need that sometimes. And to treat ourselves, but it's all about moderation. And I think it takes a lot of like training and getting used to fueling your body in the way that it needs to, in order to overcome those cravings and the impulse in eating those things that could worsen your diabetes. And once, like when we talk about diabetes, I don't think a lot of people know this, but there's two types of diabetes, type 1 and type 2. And type 1 is it's not as common as type 2. So type 1 is when you're born with it. But type 2 is when you become insulin resistant. So insulin detects how much glucose is in your body so that it can get transported to your body to fuel and have energy. But over time, if our lifestyle doesn't meet the criteria it should, then you can become insulin resistant. So type 2 diabetes is completely preventable. And I don't think we talk about that enough, because there's always that, oh, we'll watch and we'll wait and see if your levels get higher, then we'll reevaluate. But it's like, you can do things right now that we don't talk about. And it's just like a wait and see, I'll put you on this medication. It shouldn't be like that. For example, my dad is diabetic, and he could have totally prevented that. He's not going to listen to my advice though, because no matter what it is, no matter my education level, he'll just not, So anyways, yeah, like lifestyle, exercise is a huge thing. And when I say exercise, I don't mean like doing heavy lifting and like running a marathon. I don't mean it like that. I think we need to also change the way we look at exercise, because there's social media, there's like all these factors that make us feel like crap, like, oh, I'm not doing enough, I can't be like this, I'm not this athlete, like I don't have this body. And we need to change the way that the fitness industry is portrayed, because exercise looks different for so many different people. It could be dancing, it could be in the form of just walking, like whatever
Mm-hmm.
feels good for your body, just do it. And yeah, that's like when I say exercise in terms of keeping your diabetes in control and whatever it may be that you're struggling with in your health. It's just whatever you want to do with your body to move. Like 30
Movement,
minutes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Next question. You ready for the next one?
Yes.
What are some tips and healthy ways that I can decrease my stress?
That's a really good one. We talked about this in the live with Hazel and I, and sleep is a huge thing with stress, because when we sleep, so much healing occurs when we're sleeping, and if we're not sleeping, then we're not healing, and we're waking up the next day feeling not on point. So having sort of a nighttime routine, like I know everyone's day is really busy with whatever it may be that you're doing, but having that regular sleep routine, I think, is really important, because once you get in the habit of it, you're doing it every day, and you get to go to bed knowing that you did something good for yourself.
Mm.
So just taking that time, I think, is one of the things that is really important for stress.
Perfect.
I agree.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
I think that, so I struggle with insomnia. I've always struggled with insomnia my whole life. Yeah. So I function on like 5 hours of sleep. If I sleep more than 5 hours, I'm sleeping like 15 hours. If I sleep under 5 hours, I'm cranky. Beep. So, but 5 hours is like my thing.
Yeah.
And my trouble is not falling asleep. I can fall asleep on a dime. My trouble is staying asleep.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not one of the, I don't suffer from insomnia by the, not always anyway, by the, those thoughts that can be intrusive at nighttime, because a lot of people have that. Like, why did I say that in grade 8? I don't have that, but staying asleep, if I move, I'm awake,
Mm.
so yeah, but it's always been that way, and I've just managed it. I'm sure that's probably contributed to my weight gain and all of that stuff over time, but I don't know any other way to live.
Yeah, I think there's like hormonal stuff that may be related to sleep too. There's so many factors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I need to come see you, is what I'm saying.
I mean, I'm not gonna.
What about you, Hazel?
Well, I work nights, so my sleep is very disturbed. And I, like you, Wendy, I also function on like 4 to 5 hours of sleep. I don't think there's ever a day like I can go to bed at like 8, 9, 10, but I'm getting up at 5. I can go to bed at 2, 3, but I'm getting up at 5. Right? My cutoff time for sleep is like 5 a.m. and I'm up. Doesn't mean I'm out of the bed. I'm up, and I find it difficult to go back to sleep. That's where my struggle is, going back to sleep. But falling asleep initially is I'm okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes I have like those, 10-minute power naps during the day. You sleep for 10 minutes and I feel like I've slept for like 3 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But there was no stopping that 10-minute nap. Like, it needed to happen. Yeah. So I'm going to come see you, Jen.
Yes. Always welcome.
All right. We have a next question. All right. This one's yours, Hazel.
Okay. So next question is, during sex, I find that I am very dry.
So vaginal dryness is also something I feel like we don't talk about enough, that a lot of women experience. And it could be related to, again, so many different things. Like if you're pre or menopausal, peri or menopausal, then it could be, you know, the fluctuation in like the estrogen, different other hormones. And the thing with that is, I think a lot of, like, going on the topic of menopause, I feel like a lot of women think that once you hit a certain age, you're just menopausal for like ever. And that's not true. I used to think that too, actually. Like I thought like, oh, once you hit, I don't know, like 52 or whatever, and you hit menopause, then you're just in menopause like until the end.
Until death.
Until death.
That's the only thing that gives you relief, is the sweetness of death.
Yeah, and the thing is, that's not true. Like, you shouldn't be experiencing the hot flashes, vaginal dryness, years and years and years and years down after you experience the menopausal period. So it definitely needs to be addressed. If it's, like, again, getting to the root cause. So is it because of you know, like your hormones? Or is it because of stress? Like, a lot of us, you know, when we're stressed, we don't have that high of a libido sometimes. And to get into that, the mood to want to be intimate is hard if we have so much on our minds. And I don't know, like, this is my personal opinion, but I feel like with women, we need to have more, like, more of a connection. Like, it has to be, there's like such an emotional, like, there's such an emotional piece to it. And I feel like in a lot of ways, if you think about it literally, I feel like it's definitely more difficult for a woman to like finish, right? And like a lot of women, like, we learned about this in school too, like most women don't actually experience orgasms from intercourse, you know, and we don't talk about that enough.
Oh, we're gonna have a whole talk on that.
Wendy.
That's one of my favorite subjects. And I think you're right. We get embarrassed. We get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
When you see your doctor, you're like, is this something I want to talk to my doctor about? Like, does he really need to know what's going on in my bedroom? But ladies, you want to experience the big O. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about why it's not happening. Let's talk about how it can happen. You know, it's one of the best things in life. So let's get it on.
And then there's the opposite of women who experience it all the time.
Right. Those are a special rare few.
And I think it's also understanding why it doesn't happen often, because I remember just like in growing up and puberty class, you thought that it was supposed to happen like, you know, you come, and that come is different from the actual orgasm when you do experience a real true orgasm. So like knowing the difference between just like casually coming and then having like a full-blown like orgasm. Right? So yes, but we will be talking about that topic.
That's a whole discussion.
So definitely submit your questions for that, those, when we talk about that.
There's also like, if we've ever had negative experiences,
absolutely,
like, sexual assault or, you know, like stuff like that, we can like tense up a lot too.
Right.
And I don't think we talk about that enough either. Like,
no, we
overcoming, overcoming trauma.
Yeah.
And like how it affects our sexual health.
You know, back many years ago, I worked with somebody, and she wasn't even aware of the trauma that she had experienced, but there was no no penetration could happen because everything was just so tight.
Mhm.
And she was working really hard because she was getting married. And but I can't imagine how difficult that would be, like, just to
Yeah.
try to understand that. So there's so many things. There's so many things with with people's body, but in particular women's bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Here's a juicy one. Are you ready for this one?
Yeah.
How do I increase my interest to be intimate with my partner?
Oh, so it's related.
Mm-hmm.
Related question. What do you guys think? And I'll go.
I think, again, it's that intimacy level, like, that's not just in the bedroom. I really think that date nights are important. I think that communication is important in being able to tell your partner what you like and what you don't like and not being uncomfortable with those things.
Mhm.
You know, you're with this person. You should be able, if you can't have a conversation like that with this person, I'm questioning the relationship, just saying.
Mhm.
That's it. Like, yeah, Chad and I can talk about anything, and that's, if I don't like something, he's gonna know. And if he doesn't like something, I'm gonna know. So, and then just like I said, spending that quality time, making a date night happen. You know, and does sex have to be the end of that date night? It doesn't always have to be the end of that date night, because you don't want to make that routine either. Switch it up, make it spicy. What about you, Hazel?
I agree. For me, it's a lot of mental and communication. Feely, share your feelings, communicate your feelings. Play with each other mentally is my, like, almost like a mental game. That's what I say you need to incorporate.
So are we talking like role play and stuff?
Okay,
yeah, I
Wendy.
went there.
I guess sometimes it depends on, like, and that's where communication comes in. It could be role playing. It could be adding toys. It could be doing all kinds of, like, experimenting, you know, or, you know, giving somebody control. This week it's you come up with the ideas of what we're going to do. It could just be like, but I think like communication is 100% going to, one, make the experience more pleasurable, physically and non-physically, and also have everlasting meaning and importance. And builds like you build, so it's like it just creates a stronger foundation for that relationship that you're building. And that's what my thoughts. Okay, Doc.
Yeah, I totally agree with both of you. Like, communication is such a huge part of it. And also, like, trust is a huge thing. I guess it's related to communication, but we were just talking about, you know, how we can tense up there if we're like stressed, or if there's any sort of trauma we've experienced, or maybe like negative thoughts, or anything like that. So I think that building that trust, however it may be that you're building that, like, in however way you need to with your partner, I think that plays a huge role in it, because you ultimately want to feel relaxed, and you want to feel like you trust this person, right? So I think that plays a huge role in intimacy as well.
Because women really need to kind of get out of our heads for anything magical to happen, right? If you're like in the middle of doing the deed and you're like thinking, oh my God, I could be doing dishes, or you know, or I gotta pick the kids up in 20 minutes or whatever. I mean, you're just doing things just to do things. You're not doing things because you want to at that point.
Right.
So
Exactly.
it's so, and remembering it's okay to say, no, not right now. Right? Not just, yeah. So that's my last 2 cents.
No, yeah, and I agree with you, but I also feel like some women, even though they say, I know there's lots of jokes about it, like not tonight, but I think the reality is, if you're saying not tonight, what are you doing to bring it back? because so
Mhm.
many not tonights can get into a very yucky space. And we have to admit that there's only so much. We're humans. There's only so we need that affection amongst each other in either and every way. So you also have to take responsibility for the not tonight message that you're delivering.
So I'm going to add to that and say the not tonight sometimes I think could be connected to the not attentive person on when the not tonights are not happening. Do you know what I mean? Like you have to, there's got to be connection. You have to, the only time you pay attention to me is when you want to take me in the bedroom.
Right.
The not tonights are going to be way more than if you are spending quality time with me without the anticipation of sex. You'll be surprised how much more sex will happen if you are spending quality time with the person that you love prior to. There's a tip, boys.
And I feel like also there comes a point where because I see a lot of like people in clinic who are moms, and they're also partners, and they're also like daughters, you know, so it's like you play so many different like roles at one point, because then you're looking after yourself, you're looking after your partner, you're looking after your kids, your parents, like everyone around you, you're kind of like the main person. And I feel like that also obviously contributes to stress, and you need to be you need to have a partner who's like supporting you in that, you know what I mean, like
100%.
not to just like take all those roles yourself. And I've seen this so much in clinic where they don't get help, right? Like how are we supposed to enjoy ourselves or like get in the mood if we're thinking about like we have this to do, that to do, like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. So men, do some dishes, do some dusting. It's almost like soft porn for us. I'm not gonna lie. Who's on the next? Oh, you're the next question, Hazel. We got lost in that question.
Yeah. And there'll be lots more of that question, that topic. So our next question our community is asking is, how are naturopathic doctors different from medical doctors?
That's a good question. So kind of like relating to the first question, so naturopathic doctors spend more time and they individualize your care. So for example, if two people come in with painful periods, they're not going to be given the same treatment, because we're going to look at investigate more what's causing this and like what is the root cause.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of the times when people are prescribed the same thing, it doesn't work. Like it doesn't work for one person as it may with the other. So it just really takes getting to know you. And whenever I tell people how long the appointments are, they're always like, oh, what are we going to talk about? And then we always end up running out of time. Because I think you need to develop that relationship with your doctor where you really feel like they know who I am, kind of thing, you know. I've gotten so many I've been with so many doctors where I've been so dismissed, and not to say they're all like this, just my experience, because I felt like every time I came in they didn't really know who I was. And if you don't really know your patients, how are you going to make the best decision for them, you know what I mean? So using, you know, like also prioritizing making this like trying to put an end to the pill life that we live. And what I mean by that is, oh, take this pill for this issue, but then because of the side effects you need this other medication, and then from that you need another one. Like it's just like a domino effect, and we want to work with our bodies, not against it. So I guess it's like a little bit different in the way that the principles are, but I'm not saying that there's no need for the other. Like not one is better than the other. I think it's really needed for certain situations, and I think it's really great to have an integrative approach to
Right.
the
Right.
other team. So like Hazel was saying, like there's like a physio that I go to, there's a chiro, like there's a naturopath. Like it's just everyone does different things. So when we kind of come together, it really gives you the best care.
Mm.
That's why you need a
I
team.
think, the medical field seems to be, and I don't know if maybe this is just my thought, seems to be more open to having naturopathic doctors work within their circles. Maybe not all, but it seems to be at least the conversation's starting to happen. And hopefully there's going to be in a little bit more of an alignment. At one point in time, midwives were not seen as important as they are, and now we're seeing, midwives are now finally covered under OHIP, and hospitals have a specific room for them. So hopefully naturopathic practices can start to have some kind of alignment, because at the end of the day, there's no one answer for anything. There can be multiple answers, and just it's what's best practice. So I appreciate
Our bodies are all different, right? So yeah.
100. Is it my turn?
Yeah.
What foods should I be eating to increase my energy levels? There's something that you can recommend.
Yeah, so we can talk about like different nutrients and stuff. I can't like give medical advice, I do have to say, but we can talk about generally like foods. So when we look at, I don't know if you know this, but the food guide has recently changed. So I'm really excited about that. Still, because it's been like a couple years now, but basically the old food guide was so outdated.
Right.
So essentially we need half the plate, like if you imagine one plate, half of it should be vegetables and fruit, and we want it to be different colors to have different nutrients. And then a quarter to be protein, whether it be a meat source, or if you're a non-meat eater, then something like chickpeas or other plant-based proteins, or like tofu, stuff like that. And then a quarter of that should be your carbs. So I remember I've always, like with Asian cuisine, we always have a lot of grain. So like we'll have like a bowl of rice and then, like meats, vegetables on top. But when I went away to school, that's when I started limiting that, like I guess changing when I was living by myself, because then I got used to like plating it differently. So I did feel honestly a really big difference with that and my energy personally when I introduced more vegetables and then less carbs. But carbs are cravings. Like I always crave carbs. So always have that balance, but also know what food sensitivities can be like an issue for you. Everyone's different, and it's not like, oh, all gluten is bad for everyone.
Right.
It's it's like if you have a gluten sensitivity, then maybe that can make you feel low energy. Is that the issue, or is it something else? So we have to try and see what works best for us. But on a general note, that's how your plate should be.
So using the Canada Food Guide to help with your plating of your meal is what we should be using, is what you're saying?
Yeah. And then,
Okay.
there's always, I don't believe in fad diets, because it's like, there's so much in the media where it's like, oh, ketogenic diet is what you should do, or this diet, or, you know what I mean? It's so different for everyone's bodies. It's not just like a one size fits all. So going off, using the Canada's Food Guide, if you have specific health conditions that you want to work on. For example, going back to the topic of diabetes, like if you're seeing a health professional that wants you to eat like in a different way, then it will be modified. You know what I mean? It could always be modified.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Perfect. Thank you.
And Catalina says that, all orthopedic medication should be a last resort. Yes, I agree, Catalina. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to do one more question? How do we want to do this? There's a lot. So
there's a lot.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people interested in talking to you, Jen. Soon to be Dr. Jen.
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions that they wanted to ask that we haven't asked yet?
In the chat?
In the chat?
Yeah. Share your question. Is it me next or is it?
It's you, yes.
Okay. So, what can I do to decrease vaginal odor?
So we talked about this on the live a little bit too, on how your vagina has its own flora, as does your gut.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to make sure that we do everything to like kind of balance that. So there's like an optimal pH that it should be. So pH is like acidity level, acidity or base. And it should have, healthy bacteria to help you fight off infections if it ever comes across it. So there's balancing the flora, which we have to identify what, if you have, an imbalance in that, and if you have maybe an underlying infection, then should get that checked out too. But I think that there's definitely different ways to balance that out. Whether it be like, candida doesn't really smell, but it does change your discharge. But we have to rule out things that could be infection related. So what you would do with that is like doing a swab, and then they can test your pH as well.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is a really good question because thanks, Catalina. I'm going to post it so everybody can see. Here you go.
I can't see it. What does it say?
It says, what are your personal opinions on vaginal steam bath? Because this is like the new trend, like to get pregnant, sit on a steam bath, a pod, they call it all kinds of things.
What? Okay, I'm behind the times. What? Okay, what is a steam bath? Are you sitting over your kettle? Like, what the heck? What is happening?
So I've seen like machines that you can buy. Yeah.
So ladies, break out those garment steamers. You have a new purpose.
Yeah. So you put like these mixture of leaves. It's supposed to like the one person that I follow, she lives by it in terms of shrinking the fibroids in her uterus by sitting on it and doing. Some people have it for fertility, some people. But Jen, what is your opinion? Because mine's is all like social media fads.
I actually haven't heard too much about it, if I'm being honest.
Oh.
Yeah, I know that they're like, when we talk about we've talked about like baths for like healing, in the way that after, for example, you give birth or something and you're like kind of healing your vagina and stuff, then I've heard of like baths with herbs to like help with that. But I'm not too sure with like topics like fertility and fibroids. Haven't heard too much about that.
Ooh, so we're gonna have to do some research and come back to that one.
Yeah.
Back in the day, so is it okay? Is it similar to a sitz bath then? Do you remember back? I don't know if anybody remembers because I'm an old lady. But a sitz bath, you when I was in the hospital having my son, you put this little green tray in the toilet, between the toilet and the lid,
Yeah.
and you'd fill it up with water and you'd sit in it on the toilet. So hygienic. Is it similar to that?
Yeah, but now they have machines.
Okay.
You plug it in.
I gotta go on TikTok after and figure this out.
Yeah. It's there, and you'll see women, and like some of it, like some people, if there's a spiritual component to it, there's like so many different ways that women use these vaginal steam baths for, and people are saying they're good. But yeah, there's even like a multi-level marketing thing for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's very big in the US, so that's where I seen it. I seen it like on reality TV and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yes, very similar to a sit bath and adds boiling hot water.
Whew, that sounds dangerous.
Rosemary, reduce inflammation. See? Yeah.
Don't put your hoo-ha in boiling hot waters, ladies. That's not, the steam is what we're looking for. You know I gotta make a joke. No boiling of the hoo-has. But I just want to add to that question, I guess, a little bit, Jen, in terms of like, there's so many, I remember way back in the day being a teenager and finding douches. Like those are, I mean, I know they still exist, but they're probably, they're not the best for us, and we shouldn't probably be using them. We think that that's going to help with odor, especially when you were a teenager. I can remember me and my best friend doing it in side-by-side stalls. If you're watching this, you know who you are. So those, I would assume, are not recommended by a naturopath. I'm assuming correct. Yes. Okay. So stay away from
it. Do they even sell douches anymore?
Everything you said is good, because it can actually introduce more, like it's like a foreign object, right? So it's like kind of like introducing more, like the potential to introduce more bacteria or infection in there.
Right.
Wow.
You're absolutely right, Wendy.
Amazing.
This has been great conversation today. I really enjoyed it.
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
There's lots of learning. Lots of learning. Yeah, it was very good. And we have like more. So sorry to those people who we didn't get to your question, but we'll definitely get to them again, either through our live masterclass with Jen, or we will move them to our IG where Jen will be with us the last Thursday. Is it the last Thursday of every month? Jen will be live on our Instagram page, and we will answer some of these questions live there as well. So any questions, just go to the link in our bios, go to the link at the bottom of this post and submit your questions anytime you want. A question comes up, I need to ask Jen, put it there, and we'll share it with Jen and she'll answer it for you.
And of course, if you want to connect with Jen, all of her links are going to be there as well.
Yes. Or just reach out to us and we will forward you on.
She comes highly recommended, just saying.
Yes.
Have the best Saturday. What is that? What is Kat saying there?
Thank you. Wash your hands.
Have the best Saturday. Can't wait to see you guys in our lives coming up.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you,
Anytime.
Jen. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.